You're watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the AOLL Cup Series. We are live from Darlington, South Carolina for the second round of the chase, and it's going to be a great one. I'm Josh Laston. I'll be in the booth alone tonight because this weekend was Carl Henderson's birthday, and needless to say, any birthday is going to create a good reason to take a night off. So I'm very excited because we are, again, after tonight, we only have one race left before we cut the field down to 12 drivers. And right now, we have a few people that are on the bubble. We have Joe Dinsmore, who is currently our 12th place driver. Brandon Bernhardt's in 13th. William Klingbill is in 14th. Kevin Pearson, 15th. And Jason Swan is in 16th. From looking at practice, Joe Dinsmore had a very, very solid practice run today. And I'm looking for him. Most likely, he's going to end up being safe and moving up in the standings. But the biggest thing we need to keep an eye on are the bonus points that three people ultimately got. We had Justin Anderson, Joshua Hanner, and Blake Gordon who got bonus points going into this for winning races during the regular season. But a big storyline tonight is Mr. Blake Gordon is off tonight. Never really got out of him because, I'll admit, I forgot to ask him why he wasn't going to be here tonight, but with the bonus points that he had, he ended up with 135 bonus points. So he can take a day off, but that's going to give Justin Anderson the opportunity to make up ground and actually pass him in the chase standings going into the cut and the round of 12. But qualifying has already started for us tonight. And we're looking to see where everyone is shaping up. It looks like Justin Anderson is our pole sitter at this point with a 28.49. Joshua Hanner is behind him with a 28.62, and Joe Dinsmore third with a 28.66, and we're actually watching Steve Gottschalk, who's not running the Nerf car tonight. A lot of these guys are actually running throwback schemes, so it's going to be a little confusing for me, but it's still going to be an absolutely amazing race, and I'm looking forward to a lot of hard-fought battles, and most importantly for me, a lot of great racing. We've got 110 laps tonight, and the last time we were at Darlington was back quite a ways ago. This was back in May, and our winner that night was actually Joshua Hanner, and he's looking to be able to repeat the win, but what we have to keep an eye on is some of these guys towards the bottom of the chase standings really making pushes to get themselves out of that danger zone and get themselves up to where come next week when we head to Bristol, they can relax and just run their race. Right now, the only car out on track is Mr. Greg Wellen, who is coming in tonight looking to play spoiler. Since he did not make the chase, he has the ability to take a win away from some of these guys that ultimately gives bonus points, and a win will get you automatically into the next round of the chase. So he's looking to make sure that some of these guys that have aspirations to make it all the way to the end, he has the ability to give them the easy access to that end goal, as qualifying is officially done. So let's go ahead and make a quick run through our order. Justin Anderson will be starting in the pole position. Joshua Hanner in second. Joe Dinsmore third. Steve Gottschalk fourth. Andrew Burgess in fifth. Sixth is Mike Bass. Tony Pandon is in seventh. Eighth is William Klingbill. Kevin Pearson is in ninth. Brandon Bernhardt 10th. Sean Carmody 11th. Don Warnke in 12th. Blake Ziti 13th. Brian McFerrin is in 14th. Ross Gage 15th. 16th is Timothy St. Jean. 17th is Greg Wellen. 18th is Justin Rodden. 19th is Kevin Haas. 20th is Adam Wood. And 21st is Dan Witt. And this is a surprisingly small field for us tonight, where this could be a very interesting race because our leaders are not going to have to deal with as much lap traffic, despite the fact that a lot of this field that is here tonight are some of the best drivers in the league, and this should be a very entertaining race. Tire management is what is going to be key, especially if we stay green flag. These guys are going to have to watch specifically just the wear, because we're past sundown tonight, so this track is going to be nice and cool to where the Goodyears are going to be good and grippy. We just have to make sure that no one is going to push too hard at the start of the race, and make sure that they have plenty of tread left as they reach the end of the pit cycle. And the pace car is peeling off, and we are going green flag racing. As we wait for that flag to wave as they hit the front stretch, get ready to go. And they are off as Joshua Hanner gets an amazing jump on the outside of Justin Anderson. And he is going to be able to run that high line, get a great run as Justin gets loose there, hangs on to it. But the big thing with iRacing is Justin gets a little bit of a nudge there from Blake Ziti, and Justin has fallen back into 13th place at this point, running a DHL car. And from the USPS man, that's somewhat surprising, but right now he's battling with Ross Gage below him. But let's take a quick gander up at the front. There's Joshua Hanner, who has just opened up quite the gap to Joe Dinsmore. It's about a third of a second at this point. And there's no battle right now. He is just there, as Dan Witt actually has wrecked, it looks like, coming out of turn 2. And I'm trying to figure out. Oh, that was Brandon Bernhardt right now. And all right, I'm real confused over numbers here, because I'm not used to, that's Mike Bass, and apparently it moved on me. That's what the problem is. Dan Witt just gets down below the line, gets loose, and tags the inside wall. And that's not going to be a great one. And let's take a quick look. It also looks like Brandon Bernhardt had a bit of an issue. Just gets loose between 1 and 2, gets finished off by Blake Ziti. And that looks very similar to what happened to him on Thursday night in the TNT at Watkins Glen. Just got a little bit loose, and there came Blake Ziti to finish the spin for him. So we'll go back to the beginning, or up to the front, as Joshua Hanner is just comfortably running his race 0.3 of a second in front of Joe Dinsmore, who last year in the Sportsman Series for the AOLL was battling Blake Gordon at this exact track, looking to take home the Sportsman Championship, and had one of the most infamous moments in the AOLL where Blake tried to move him up the track a little bit, and it turned into a little bit more than just that. And that's why Blake Gordon missed a few races at the beginning of the season this year, because Blake moved him. A little bit of a extra, as Joe Dinsmore is right on the bumper of Joshua Hanner right now, and there is a queue of cars right behind him, as Tony Pandon is actually right there on the bumper. And now Mike Bass is joining this battle, to where Tony Pandon is there waiting to be able to get around Steve Gottschalk. But battle for the lead. Joe Dinsmore has backed off a little bit as the field is running single file, but Justin Anderson is setting his sights on Kevin Pearson to get himself up into 9th position. Justin is setting himself up to take the low line through 3 and 4, and that was not the best line that you could take. He needs to get himself prepared to make that same move through 1 and 2, as it looks like Mr. Dan Witt in his second race back is having some issues. We'll take a look at what happened there shortly, as it looks like Justin Anderson is once again preparing to show Kevin Pearson that he wants that low line. But that is not going to be his friend, but he's getting a great run out of 4. Should be able to get up alongside Kevin Pearson, get below him, and get the job done. He is up into 9th and setting his sights back up for the front, to where he should be a contender for the win tonight. But due to an issue at the very beginning, is currently having to work his way through the field. So let's take a look at what happened to Dan Witt a little bit earlier. Just gets a little bit loose in 4 and has met both of the walls tonight on the inside of the track on the straightaways. So we will get ourselves back up here, as Justin Anderson is setting his sights on Sean Carmody and is probably only about a lap back on him, to where he should be able to make the move sometime on this lap, as he has closed the gap considerably just in the last few turns, and is now getting himself in the right position, going down below Sean. Gonna get that low line, and can't quite make it stick, but he is getting another great run out of 4, and should be able to get the pass made here soon. As long as he keeps running his line, he should be able to get a good slingshot, but he tags the wall ever so slightly, and that's going to pull him back. But we are, for the most part, single file all the way back through the field. And our leaders we head to the front, Joe Dinsmore and Joshua Hanner have put a bit of a gap. It's close to 2/3 of a second over Steve Gottschalk. And Joe is just loving that draft that he's getting from Joshua Hanner right now, as they're going to come across the stripe and start lap 15 of 110. As Joshua Hanner goes high, and that's going to give Joe Dinsmore an opportunity to stick his nose down below, but he couldn't completely capitalize on that, and Joshua Hanner remains up in the lead for lap 15. And he's just out there comfortably running, but off in the distance, we're starting to come up to a lapped car, and that is Brandon Bernhardt. And on this specific track, with this how iRacing has this modeled, it's going to be difficult to pass lap traffic because of the relatively single groove that they have set up here. So if Brandon Bernhardt ends up staying high, these guys running the low line, there's probably next to no rubber down there, and that's going to make this difficult. So we're going to have to wait and see where our leaders catch up to Brandon Bernhardt as we wait just to see what ends up happening as they catch him, and they're closing in quickly. As Joe Dinsmore gets another great run going into turn 1. But the problem is, Joshua Hanner, he's running the exact line to prevent any kind of an issue, to where he has to drop back, and he's now about 1/4 of a second. But as we look here on the blimp, Brandon Bernhardt is coming into view. And that's going to actually give Joshua Hanner the opportunity to get a little bit of a draft, get some of the love that Joe Dinsmore is currently getting from him, get a little extra speed as he goes into the turns, and should be able to pad his gap ever so slightly more. But Joe is not going away in any way, shape, or form. But Steve Gottschalk is also right there, and these three have actually managed to open up a 1.5 seconds to Tony Pandon behind him, who then has 2 seconds over Mike Bass in 5th, where we're starting to see the field spread out. We're starting to see that skill of our front runners really show itself, as we are 20 laps in the books. And these guys, we're having a great clean race tonight, and that actually is looking to be a great race with clean driving. But as we start to catch the lap cars, it's going to become a little bit more interesting. As I will be the first to admit that I, after an update of our software tonight, forgot to put the highlights out there for our chase drivers so we can see where everybody's at in the field. As the farthest back of our chase drivers is actually, it looks like Don Warnke, who is actually running in last, has not turned a lap yet tonight. Probably just looking to get that provisional so he at least gets some points out of the deal. But right now, Joshua Hanner is under pressure from Joe Dinsmore, who's going to get himself down below on that low line, but can't quite get himself up to the quarter panel of Joshua Hanner going into turn 2. So he is going to have to sit back and wait for another opportunity. And those are probably going to end up being a little far and few between tonight, especially as we are still running green flag as they cross the stripe to start lap 25. It seems like these guys are just going to be comfortable. Joe may make the occasional move in that AOL car, to where he's definitely running a throwback for the night, because honestly, I still have to be reminded that AOL is actually in business. But I'm of the age to where I actually remember getting the free CDs, diskettes, to get a few free hours of AOLL to, well, AOL. I'm going to do that more often than I care to admit to tonight. And just getting some free hours on the internet as we have our first yellow on lap 26. It looks like Mr. Andrew Burgess is our culprit. Let's take a look. And I'm not seeing anything. Oh, just managed to collect the wall. And unlike Dan Witt, collects quite a few people in that process. It caught Adam Wood, William Klingbill in that process, and that's a hard hit right there from William Klingbill, as he's just coming out of the turn, and there is no hope for him in that situation. It also looks like it collected the 41 of Kevin Pearson, and those guys ended up towing, as we are seeing everyone dive into the pits for the free stop. So let's go ahead, get ourselves, as there's just not a good pit lane camera here, as Kevin Pearson actually ends up staying out. Blake Ziti is also still out, as right now Justin Anderson, this is actually probably the best thing for him, is having the field end up stacked up together, as Joshua Hanner wins the race off of pit road. And we are back out onto the track. But Kevin Pearson right now with that mangled car after what happened there, it looks like he's barely able to stay moving, as there's a little bit of smoke coming out of that car, and since he was ultimately a lap down, he had to wait to go in. So was the same thing for Blake Ziti. And I'm trying to figure out, why is Justin Anderson still out on pit road? He may have been trying to repair some damage without the fast repair that is offered to these guys, so it just instantly fixes the car and puts everything back to the way it was at the start of the race. And that may be a good move for him, because that fast repair can be the difference between a win later in the race and having to park it. So with the field stacked up at like it is, we are going to go green flag in at least one more lap. So let's take a moment and hear from our sponsor tonight, Guitar Attic.
Hi, I'm Randy from the Guitar Attic. Can we be serious for a second? Are you tired of being a loser? Can't do anything right? Feel like everyone's coming down on you all the time? Well, there's a way out. And I'm going to show you. Hey Mom, look what I learned. That's right. Pick up a guitar, learn how to play guitar. Automatically you're going to become a chick magnet. The ladies are going to love you. Your kids are going to think you're cool. So what you need to do is come down here to the Guitar Attic, 16725 Ridgewood Avenue in Daytona Beach, Florida, or go on guitarattic.com and buy yourself a guitar and automatically be the star of your neighborhood. That's guitarattic.com.
And we are back as the field is on the back stretch, ready to go back racing. And right now, there we go. Joshua Hanner is currently our leader with Joe Dinsmore in second, Steve Gottschalk in third, Tony Pandon in fourth, despite what the tower was telling you. Mike Bass in fifth as Joshua Hanner gets to lead them to the green and gets an absolutely amazing jump, but ends up losing it in the process, and that's going to bring out a green flag. And no, it does not. Because that just created a whole lot of chaos, but did not bring out, oh, there's the caution. And that one's one that's definitely got to hurt the pride. As let's go to the blimp and see what happens there. It just looks like he gets over antsy as he goes, loses it. And, oh, the chaos was throughout the field there, as it looked like Sean Carmody actually may have gotten a bad jump there, gotten a little bit of a rear end. Oh, he had to check up, and in the process of trying to get going again, does the same thing as Joshua Hanner, but Brandon Bernhardt tags the 47 of Joshua Hanner as he's just a sitting duck in the middle of the track, and that one moves. With all of that, that brings Mr. Joe Dinsmore into the lead of this race, as a number of people that were involved in that right now, Justin Anderson, Joshua Hanner, Brandon Bernhardt, Justin Rodden, everyone that was involved in that is making their way down pit lane, and it looks like we're going to see some fast repairs here, as Justin Anderson is actually just getting damage repaired from the previous incident, and Joshua Hanner is looking like he took that. No, he definitely did not. There is some crumple on that left front, so he was just coming in, top off on fuel, get a little bit of repair, but he is currently back in 13th after leading the entirety of the beginning of this race. And unfortunately, that is just some generally bad luck, but he dives himself back into the pits, probably looking to get a little bit more damage repaired, as Justin Anderson's back out on track right now, looking like his front end's pretty close to normal. It's that back end that's looking a little worse for the wear. But we have Joshua Hanner, Timothy St. Jean, and Kevin Haas back into the pits. And let's see, did Joshua Hanner take that? He took that fast repair. honestly, that was probably what he should have done the first time around. But this early into the race, he's going to have to keep it clean going forward. And I hit the wrong button there. But Joe Dinsmore has taken over the lead of this race, and both of the guys who have qualified in front of him are currently far back in the field. So let's take a quick look and bring up what we have right here as currently our bubble drivers with live timing, as we've got 1 to green. Don Warnke is very safe, but Adam Wood is right there on the bubble in 12th. Tony Pandon is looking like he's going to be in 13th, and it's all shuffling around because of, well, we're pacing 2 by 2, so if you get ever so slightly in front of them, we'll bring that one back up in a second. As the pace car is entering 3, so these guys are ready to go racing. Hopefully we can not have any kind of a spin there and get it to where we have a nice long run like we did to open up the race tonight, as Joe Dinsmore is there and ready to go as he takes off early, gets an amazing jump. He's a 1, 2, 3, 4 car lengths at least over second place, who is Tony Pandon. Steve Gottschalk has lost a position in that process, and right now has Greg Wellen right behind him waiting to pounce, as the field has gone single file for the most part, as Tony Pandon is looking down low on Joe Dinsmore, gets himself right up on the bumper, and is going to put some pressure on Joe Dinsmore, hoping to maybe push him into a little bit of a mistake, but that may be barking up the wrong tree right now, as he is one of the most experienced drivers out there on the track. He's maybe hoping that that little bit of an air bubble that exists between these cars is going to be all the more opportunity he needs to make Joe Dinsmore go a little bit up the track, a little bit off the line. But he's dropping back ever so slightly, getting himself into position to just run single file. We see a few guys looking to break the toe behind him, as Tony is running a very low line through 3 and 4. That's not going to be all that sustainable on these tires for too long, because he's going to overheat them and start to wear them much faster than he needs. But he runs a very weird line through there, gets an amazing run out of 2, gets around Joe Dinsmore, and now he is taken over the lead. That was an amazing line. He held the wall through 1 and 2, only to drop down at the very exit and get an amazing run on Joe. And now he has opened up over a half a second over second place, as Joe Dinsmore is now under pressure from his teammate Steve Gottschalk, with Greg Wellen right behind him, Mike Bass. These guys are just waiting for their opportunity and maybe striking soon enough. But let's take a quick look at our bubble drivers. Timothy St. Jean is handily in 9th place for the chase standings. William Klingbill is right now the man on the bubble, and that's because Tony Pandon, our leader, is gonna get some points tonight. And these points that are up on screen are definitely not what they will end up with. It's what they have right now, but Tony Pandon is making an amazing run to get himself up away from that bubble. And Don Warnke as Tony Pandon with William Klingbill looking like he may have lost a position there to drop himself down, or the points just updated to where Tony Pandon is now sitting with 41 points. There's part of me that's curious if Carl is out there in the background working on this while I'm saying things. But these guys, this is a great run from Tony Pandon, looking to get himself out of that danger zone, and especially if he can get the win tonight. Oh, it looks like we may have had an incident that luckily did not bring out a caution. Timothy St. Jean has had an issue with 3 and 4. He's just running that low line. Looks like he probably just got on the throttle a little bit earlier than he would have wanted to, but luckily ends up down below the track surface and is just working to get himself back up to speed. Right now, I do want to jump back. We've got a bit of a battle heating up. Joshua Hanner and Justin Anderson are right on the tail of Adam Wood, who's got a little bit of damage on the outside of his car. And looks like he may have gotten the tip in the process, but Joshua Hanner gets around Justin Anderson to move himself up into 10th position. But these two, they want to get themselves back up to fighting at the front. Both of these guys were looking forward to maybe getting their automatic admission to the next round of the chase. And Adam Wood is doing a great job right now of holding up Joshua Hanner as Justin Anderson pokes his nose out just ever so slightly, letting Joshua Hanner know he is there and ready to make a move. But I don't think he's going to be able to get too far right now, especially with Adam Wood there, as Joshua Hanner gets an amazing run, puts his nose down below Adam Wood. It's all going to be who gets the better run. Adam should have the extra speed, but Joshua Hanner put his car in the right place to use the aerodynamic effects to pull Adam Wood back, as that's exactly what Justin Anderson's doing to him right now. And both of them have cleared Adam Wood to take over 9th and 10th, move Adam back into 11th, as we've got a car off the track, comes dangerously close to hitting Ross Gage. But that's the 0-1 of Justin Rodden, who's dropping like a brick through the field after going low through 1 and 2. And now Joshua Hanner and Justin Anderson are setting their sights on Ross Gage. Joshua Hanner is right there on the bumper, gets down below on the backstretch, and gets around as Ross Gage ends up blocking Justin Anderson as he had a head of steam going into 3. But Justin is now being held up behind Ross Gage, looking to get a great run coming out of turn 2 to get himself around. But while we've been looking at this and watching these guys make their way back up through the field, Tony Pandon was under a little bit of pressure from Joe Dinsmore as we are on lap 50 of 110. Tony Pandon had Joe Dinsmore within a 1/10 of a second, and Joe is just running an absolutely blistering pace, getting a great run coming out of turn 4 and making sure Tony knows he is right there ready to go as he backs off ever so slightly. But this line up at the front, I do have to come back up to the front here, as Joshua Hanner has Justin Anderson well over a second behind him. But these guys have made it up to 7th and 8th right now. So our leaders they're probably driving ever so slightly angry and looking to get themselves back up to the front. Our leaders are going to have to worry about them probably around lap 80 at this point. But as we have hit lap 53, Joe Dinsmore is trying to get some closing speed there on Tony Pandon. Gets a great run out of 2. Thinks better of making the move and getting himself down low. Tony takes an aggressive line looking to diamond 3 and 4, but Joe Dinsmore gets a great run along the top, gets the pass done to lead lap number 53, and as we hit lap 54, Joe Dinsmore has taken over the lead of this race. And right now, Steve Gottschalk is also looking to make himself known to Tony Pandon. Steve is amazing at saving his tires. And after we have had 20 laps, roughly, of green flag on these tires, it's time for him to come alive, start moving his way up, because Tony Pandon had to run a very aggressive line to take the lead from Joe Dinsmore. And his tires probably have a little bit less rubber than both Steve Gottschalk and Greg Wellen, who are right behind him and ready to take over the position. But this front group has taken and just started to run away, as Joshua Hanner is now set and ready to catch up to this front group, as Greg Wellen actually gets the job done on Steve Gottschalk while we step away for a few moments. Let's go ahead and just get a good replay of that pass. Oh, Greg just gets an amazing position coming out of turn 2, gets the draft, gets the speed, and gets himself around Steve Gottschalk to take over third, and now sets his sights on Tony Pandon as we come back at the exact right moment, as Greg gets himself down on that low line in 3 and 4, gets the pass done, takes over second place, runs up on the track to slam the door on Tony Pandon to make sure he can't get around him. And now Greg is setting his sights on our leader of Joe Dinsmore. But Justin Anderson and Joshua Hanner have gotten themselves back up into 6th and 7th respectively, and are closing the gap down on Brian McFerrin in 5th. As we go and look, we can see both of those cars off in the distance. It's quite the gap, but right now he is looking to hang on to this position, and both of those guys have run very hard on these tires, so there's going to be limited traction left as we're going to be coming across the stripe starting lap 60 of 110. Both of these guys have probably burned through their tires, and both are into unknown territory, because as we look at the stint length, the longest one that we have currently is our leader, well, our top 5 on 32 laps on these tires. Granted, a chunk of that has been under caution, but still, these tires have seen some abrasion. They have definitely slowed themselves down a little bit, as both of these guys are well over 2 seconds over their fastest lap right now. But Joe Dinsmore is just off to the races, but Greg Wellen is trying to close some of that gap down right now. Why is this not one wanting to... No, that's why. Look at that, it's set up wrong. Right now, Joe Dinsmore is actually expanding the gap ever so slightly over Greg Wellen. Or losing gap, I'm reading that graph wrong. To where Greg Wellen is slowly closing in, but ultimately ends up having a little bit bad of an exit there. Loses some of that distance. But we're going to take a quick run back here in the back of the pack as Kevin Pearson is closing in on Ross Gage and Adam Wood, as it looks like Adam may have had a little bit bad of an entry there into 1 and 2, gets himself loose, and has put himself in danger of having both Ross Gage and Kevin Pearson as trying to run 3 wide there, as Adam Wood goes very low on the track there, gives up both positions, and is currently dropping in relation to Kevin Pearson. My guess is he knew it was going to be inevitable. Why kill your tires in that process? Adam Wood is going down. It looks like he is going to be the first taker of pit stops. And we are going to see a round of green flag pit stops, it looks like right now. Unless something happens, and that ultimately will come to hurt Adam Wood, as we are on wrapping up lap 66. Joe Dinsmore remains our leader, but Greg Wellen right now has closed the gap to under a second and may be able to make a pass on pit road. If I were in Greg's shoes right now, I would be thinking we already have our first taker of pit stops. If I'm Greg, I'm going to do the undercut right now. I've got about a second, but we are talking, and caution is out. Blake Zeedy, William Klingbill. It looks like they may have collected each other, and Andrew Burgess also is involved there. So let's take a look. Oh, yes, Andrew Burgess and Blake Zeedy. Andrew Burgess tags the wall. Blake tries to go down below him, but he just shoots off the wall. And Mike Bass, it looks like he somehow, courtesy of netcode, managed to survive that, as Blake is currently crab walking it, trying to get it into the pits. I don't think cars are supposed to run at that angle. However, if this was dirt, that would be fantastic for him. But it looks like he is, okay, somehow managing to get himself into the pits with that level of damage. That's car control right there, but we come in at the exact perfect time as our leader is making his way into the pits. I'm somewhat glad that Greg Wellen wasn't listening to me, because I would have told him to go into the pits and caution would have come out and he would have been in trouble. But right now, with everyone, this is going to stack up the field. We have 40 laps to go, but this is going to stack up the field, and this is the best thing for Joshua Hanner and Justin Anderson, who both right now they're going to get to start depending on how the race off of pit road plays out. These guys, Joe Dinsmore is fighting Greg Wellen, and I'm curious who actually got the race off of pit road there. And it looks like it was definitely Joe Dinsmore, otherwise we would have seen him shuffle around at this point. But as we come out, Justin Rodden actually ended up splitting Joshua Hanner and Justin Anderson to where Justin is currently in 6th place but that's going to give both Joshua Hanner and Justin Anderson that inside line. And until we're up to full speed, that inside line is probably going to be the preferable one on a restart. We'll have to wait and see what our leader ends up doing. But this is going to be good and spicy as we hit the front here. And we have Adam Wood, who is the last car on the lead lap there with Mike Bass, waiting for the wave around, which unfortunately probably is not going to come. But Adam Wood did pit before the caution came out, and this is going to be it for him. This was a great strategy call because this is going to get him back up onto that lead lap. So as we wait for the wave around, let's take and hear a quick message from the AOLL.
The AOLL began online racing in the mid-1990s with Papyrus's NASCAR racing still going strong 27 years later on the iRacing platform. The TNT series races on Thursday night, running the ARCA Chevy cars for drivers looking to learn and have fun. The Cup Series races on Sunday nights, featuring league veterans and Class A licensed drivers. The Sportsman Division races on Wednesday nights, running the Gander Outdoor trucks with drivers from the Cup and TNT series. You can catch all of the AOLL racing action right here on Ghostfire Media.
As we are back, as the lights on the pace car are off, so we will be going back racing momentarily. I do definitely have to recommend that if you're at all interested in racing out there, come join us in the AOLL. It's a great time. It's a great group of guys to run with. You've got all skill levels throughout all the leagues to where I run in the TNT, and it's an absolute blast running the ARCA cars. The Sportsman Series with everyone is great, and obviously I love watching and broadcasting the Cup as the pace car is off and Joe gets an amazing jump, gets himself out to about a 1 car length lead over Greg Wellen. But as we saw, Greg has the speed necessary to get himself up there. As we see a car going off, and that's Steve Gottschalk. That's going to relinquish 3rd place to Joshua Hanner, who's now only 1 spot back from where he started. But that actually ended up hurting Justin Anderson, who right now is on the low line below Ross Gage, looking to get around, and there got a little bit of a tag. And that should bring out the caution, as caution is back out after that incident, to where Kevin Pearson and Ross Gage, after Ross, it looked like he came down a little bit on Justin Anderson. Apologies for hopefully not blowing out anybody's eardrums while they're wearing headphones. But let's just see. Yeah, Ross Gage just ends up coming down, collecting the rear end. Justin does a great job of holding on to that. But with these guys down on that low line, as Kevin gets flipped over, but the car is on its wheels and he should be able to get that thing moving again. But we're back under caution. And I'm very curious if we're going to see anyone dive into the pits at this point, because in all honesty, I think that's going to be the right move. We've seen people make 42 lap stints. If nothing, it's not going to be for tires. This would be going in for fuel to where you know you're going to make it to the end of this race. And we have a few takers: Adam Wood, Brandon Bernhardt, Ross Gage, Mike Bass, and Kevin Pearson. Those last three were involved in that incident and probably looking to take their fast repairs. But if I'm being honest, if I were these guys in the lead, I would have made the jump in. It may be questionable if you would be able to make it to the end at this point, because again, we were seeing 42 laps. But until the caution came out, no one was wanting to go down and take that pit stop, with the exception of Adam Wood. If I'm being honest, I would have gone in, splashed, get those extra few laps, unless their crew chief is telling them that they're good to go to the end of the race at this point, which, with the extra caution laps that we're currently running under, there's a good chance that is the case. But as we deal with this 1 minute pace lap here at Darlington, this has been a surprisingly good race. Darlington is a difficult track to run. There's no way around it. It's asymmetrical, and banking varies between the ends of the track. So these guys, I have to commend them on a relatively clean race at this point. We are only on the third caution of the night, and the fourth caution. Tower had to prove me wrong. But this gives us a great look. Right now, Joe Dinsmore is our leader, with Greg Wellen right behind him in second, Joshua Hanner third, Brian McFerrin fourth, Justin Rodden in fifth, Tony Pandon in sixth, Justin Anderson in seventh, Sean Carmody in eighth, Kevin Haas in ninth, and Steve Gottschalk in 10th. And chances are this is the 2 to green lap. So let's take a quick look at where we stand, to where Adam Wood currently, with the live standings, is our man currently out of the points, to where it looks like him and Tony Pandon. And God, I hate the fact that iRacing always does exact position on track to where it gets confusing in these situations. But we are going side by side as the pace car lights are off for us. So let's get ourselves ready, as Adam Wood took all of the repairs he could possibly get and is scooting around the track as fast as he can to get himself caught up to these guys. And that's actually going to be a bit of an advantage for him, because his tires are going to be fully up to temperature. He's going to have a head of steam coming up to catch these guys, to where he may have timed that absolutely amazingly to be able to get these guys as they come to green. Joe Dinsmore is already off, gets himself a good 1-2-3 car length lead over Greg Wellen. Joshua Hanner is there, only about 2 car lengths back from Greg Wellen right now, but Joe just got an amazing jump. And right now, Justin Anderson, who was sitting in 7th, is not wasting any time getting himself up, ready to make that battle for the lead. Absolutely amazing. So right now, we actually have 4 cars, as it looks like we may have had an incident that luckily did not bring out another caution, as we are on lap 80 of 110. let's take a quick look at what happens here. As I think I grabbed the wrong button. I did. Brian McPherson just gets a terrible entry and brings it around, and luckily that was off the racing line and the surface, so we get to stay green. But Justin Anderson has made the charge back through the field and is ready to take the fight, as it looks like Joshua Hanner is getting himself ready to try to make a move on Greg Wellen. But it may be a little too early to run that hard, because we still have quite a few laps, and as we've seen, the tires tend to fall off, as we had another incident. Looks like Ross Gage has brought up a warning on my system. Oh, tags the wall and luckily keeps it down, but he's also at the back of the pack, so none of these guys are going to be in fear of hitting him, and gets himself pointed the right direction. So back up at the front, Joshua Hanner goes deep into turn 3, closed down the gap on Greg Wellen, and is getting a great tow from him, but that's not going to be enough to be able to make the pass. He's going to have to wait another lap, but he may actually be able to get a great run coming out of turn 2. Having that tow, taking a higher line, pokes his nose down, lets him know he's there and ready to make it, as he is just ready, taking advantage of that arrow, gets himself up and around, stalls out. Greg Wellen takes over second place with an amazing move and uses the side draft to his advantage, and now is ready to chase down Joe Dinsmore. So let's see. Justin Anderson just got a lesson on how to make a pass, as it looks like Kevin Pearson may have had an issue there. But right now, Justin Anderson is actually under pressure from Tony Pandon, as we only have 25 laps left. It's go time for these guys, as it is not going to be the easiest job to get it done. This is not an easy track to pass at. But I think the key is just getting yourself in the right position, use a side draft to stall out and suck a little speed back from the car in front of you, as we just saw Joshua Hanner do to Greg Wellen. That's going to be what Justin Anderson's going to have to do to get himself onto that final spot of the podium tonight. But if we go back up to the very front, everybody is slowly closing the gap on Joe Dinsmore. If I was a betting man, right now Joe is just saving his kit, getting himself ready to move up and defend from any of these guys that are running a bit harder, trying to get him to move back in the race. But we're going to jump back a little farther in the field, as Sean Carmody, and this is the battle for 7th place right now. Sean Carmody has Steve Gottschalk all over his bumper, ready and waiting for any kind of a mistake. Steve drops down, gets the lowest line he possibly can coming out of turn 2, continues to run the low line, diamond it a little bit, hit that early apex, drift up, do the same thing coming out of turn 4. He's wanting to close that gap down, but he is just waiting, trying to get himself up, get an extra position out of the deal, because he's currently back 4 positions from where he started. But the man on a move right now is actually Mike Bass, who is getting himself right up on the bumper of Steve Gottschalk and stalling out his run, giving Sean Carmody a little bit of breathing room as Mike Bass is running that high line, looking to get a great run coming out of turn 2. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that is an absolutely great battle we have right here as Mike Bass is only 0.2 of a second back from Steve Gottschalk. And he really wants to move up into that 8th position at this point. And out in the comments, we have Ed Springer. Ed, it's really sad to not see you here. We know that you love and have an intimate knowledge of this track. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to see you, but you just got to come back next week at Bristol and show everyone why you run with us. And right now, we're starting to see, as we'll go to Joe Dinsmore, he's got a queue of cars right behind him, just waiting for any kind of an issue, as it looks like Joshua Hanner has a much deeper entry into turn 3, which closes the gap ever so slightly as he enters. But Joe's exit out of turn 4, it looks to be unparalleled right now. But Joshua Hanner, he's fighting hard. But unfortunately, as he's fighting hard to catch up to Joe, that's leaving the door open for Greg Wellen to get himself back around, as Greg does go a little bit squirrely there coming out of turn 4. But with that, that gives Hanner a little bit of extra breathing room with 16 laps to go. Justin Anderson, right behind Greg Wellen in 4th place, seems to just be biding his time ever so slightly. He's running that high line, which is going to save some extra tire. And that should be able to be just enough to get him to take Greg come the end of this race. But he's going to have to get a move on as the laps are dwindling down. But Joe Dinsmore right now is getting passed by Joshua Hanner. Oh, tags him. Gets him up into the wall. It looks like Hanner, as Greg Wellen is around, Justin Anderson gives him a little bit of a tip, as that's going to bring out the yellow flag. Oh, that was just unfortunate. As let's see, as Joe goes up, Greg has to check up ever so slightly. He's down on that low line, comes up, tags the wall coming out of 4, and there's Justin with nothing that he can do to avoid the rear end of Greg Wellen. Oh, that one's going to bring out some commentary to where Joshua Hanner, I do want to go back and take a quick look at this, but let's take a look at that from the blimp. And of course, we have buildings going through right there. Let's go from this one as take another look as Joshua Hanner looks like he may have drifted up ever so slightly, but that looks like the ever-present gremlin of netcode there, to where there was still a few inches worth of space there. And that one's just unfortunate for Joe Dinsmore, as everyone does make their way into the pits. As this is the opportunity for these guys go ahead, get everything they can repaired, new tires, where we're going to have a great shootout to wrap this race up. With only 12 laps to go, we're going to get about 10 laps worth of green flag racing, if we can keep it green, as Joshua Hanner is out of the pits, and it looks like Justin Anderson barely gets the run out on Joe Dinsmore. So this is going to be an extra spicy battle here at the front. With what just happened, definitely a little bit of contact where I'm not even sure if netcode is the only reason that one happened. But right now, Joshua Hanner is up in the lead. They're checking up for the pace car, and it seems like the pace car may have caught him a little off guard there. But with the lights on the pace car still on, it looks like we are going to go back to green flag racing on lap 9 here tonight. And I very much have the feeling that Joe Dinsmore is probably going to be a little less careful around Joshua Hanner going forward here tonight. And it's going to make it terrible for my teammate, but great for everyone out there watching tonight. And I'll admit, I'm very much looking forward to that. To where this is the kind of racing that I would expect from Darlington. And it is not going to disappoint for these last 10 laps. So we are going green after this lap, with Joshua Hanner in the lead, Justin Anderson in second, Joe Dinsmore in third, Tony Pandon in fourth, Justin Rod in fifth, Steve Gottschalk in sixth, Mike Bass in seventh, Sean Carmody in eighth, ninth is Greg Wellen, and 10th is Brandon Bernhardt, who has made an amazing recovery from an earlier incident to bring himself back up into the top 10. As we'll bring up the bubble drivers one last time here, to where Timothy St. Jean, William Klingbill, I don't know who the blank one is off at this point, and Jason Swan is currently sitting ready to remain in 16th. As the pace car is off, and Joshua Hanner is looking to redeem himself after that last start that brought out a caution. Gets a good jump, not a great jump, but he has himself directly in front of Justin Anderson. Going into turn 2, and with everyone having fresh tires, they should be able to hold this one very well at a good speed, but Justin Anderson is right there on the bumper of Joshua Hanner. And these two are gonna be duking it out for these last 9 laps as Justin Anderson goes down on that low line, gets himself right behind Joshua Hanner as he is just looking to take over that position. And with only 8 laps to go, he's gonna try to do that earlier rather than later as he's peeking out down below. But Hanner does remain in that first position, and he admitted earlier in the race he does not have the short run speed. His hopes for winning tonight were on the long run, as Justin Anderson is proving that point to be a fact. To where Justin Anderson, both of these guys have opened up a half a second over Joe Dinsmore in third, but Justin is right on that bumper waiting for any kind of an error for Joshua Hanner. And these two are just taking off. As Justin is just running that slightly lower line through the turns, which is going to be a little bit faster, has a little slide there coming out of turn 2 as we see a few cars getting a little bit loose coming out of 2, but everyone has held on to it, and Joshua Hanner has given himself a little breathing room from Justin Anderson, but it's only about 0.2 of a second as Justin may just be working on resetting, trying to get the best run without the disturbed air of the car in front of him, as he is still right there as Joe Dinsmore is trying to join this party. He is only about 0.4 of a second back from Justin Anderson. And these guys, these last 4 laps are going to be just absolutely heart-pounding for these guys. It's sweaty palms. Hopefully they're wearing gloves to make sure that they can hang on to their wheel, because the worst thing that could happen is another last lap incident between our leaders. And honestly, we may see it, because Justin is driving like he has everything to prove that he deserved the pole that he had, that he should have been up at the front today, but has had his own issue as he is right there on the bumper. He is 0.1 of a second behind Joshua Hanner, and just trying as Joshua Hanner collects the wall and right now loses the position to Justin Anderson as he gets pushed over into the wall. And that was one of those things that Justin just, there was going to be no love in him taking that position over, as Joshua Hanner has dropped back into 3rd. Justin Anderson has taken over the lead of this race as we are coming to the white flag, with Justin Anderson going to lead us to the checkered after a terrible start to the race, ending up having to work his way back through the field and end up getting his win, getting back up into 1st. This was a great race. He was flirting with the wall right there, but definitely bringing it home. Taking the win tonight is Justin Anderson, with Joe Dinsmore following right behind him. In 3rd was Joshua Hanner. Tony Pandon in 4th, as not sure what happened to Hanner. I don't know if he just pulled off and parked it immediately, got himself out. But this was a great race front to back, as Justin is gonna burn those Goodyears down to the threads. Let's go ahead and run through our results tonight. As we said, Justin Anderson was our winner. Joe Dinsmore in 2nd. Joshua Hanner 3rd. Tony Pandon in 4th. Steve Gottschalk 5th. Greg Wellen 6th. Mike Basson 7th. Sean Carmody 8th. 9th was Adam Wood. Justin Rodden in 10th. Brandon Bernhardt 11th. Kevin Hassan 12th. Blake Ziti 13th. 14th was Brian McFerrin. Kevin Pearson in 15th. 16th was Ross Gage. 17th, Andrew Burgess. 18th, William Klingbill. Timothy St. Jean is in 19th. Dan Witten 20th. And Don Warnke in 21st. So without further ado, let's talk to our winner, Justin Anderson. Hey, Justin, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
I do indeed. How's it going?
Sir, I don't know what happened at the beginning of the race.
I choked. I mean, it's a pretty simple explanation. I went into turn 1. I choked as hard as I've choked in my entire life, and I dropped back to 13.
Well, you recovered from that like an absolute champ and got the win.
So the win was surprising. Joe should have won the race. It's unfortunate that he and Hanner, that Hanner drove it in there and he and Joe got together. So I kind of capitalized on that. And then Josh getting in the wall in 3 and 4, with 2 laps to go or whatever. So it was a hard drive. That's the hardest race I feel like I've run in a really long time. Like, I'm mentally exhausted. My hands hurt from gripping the wheel so hard. This was a tough race.
I mean, Darlington is always a tough race. You didn't make it easy on yourself, but the skill that was required to get yourself back to where you were, I mean, there's a reason why with Blake missing tonight, I mean, even with the finish tonight, you would have had first place.
So I do want to, first off, I want to point out the, throwback paint scheme. This is my DHL throwback paint scheme to when Adam Wood received a parcel on his doorstep that looked like it had been dropped from an airplane into the Grand Canyon and then recovered in the Colorado River miles away. So DHL slogan is excellence simply delivered. So, of course, we just modified it to just be simply delivered. So that's my throwback scheme. But thank you. I appreciate that. This was a hard race. It's a hard track always to run. I do want to thank the admins for getting us a setup that mitigated some of the loose off of 2 and 4. It still was loose, but it was much better than the stock or, fixed setup would have been. So thanks to the admins for getting us a better setup so that we could race better than we would have otherwise been able to.
Oh, it was... I mean, we had our share of cautions, don't worry, but that's Darlington. But other than that, it was a very clean race. The front runners, it was great to watch. There were battles throughout, but I was going to ask you about why it was DHL tonight, Mr. USPS. Are you going to get fired because of this scheme?
No, because the Postal Service does not pay me sponsorship money. If they did, I would not have run this paint scheme. So, hey, USPS, if you want to sponsor Steel Horse Racing, we have spots open on our quarter panels.
I mean, on a normal day, your entire car, too, so...
That's true also. I did want to shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. Great job today. I heart you, Josh.
I know.
And I can't wait to watch the broadcast. From what I could see, like I remember when I was running 5th, 6th, 7th or whatever, and Hannah and I were catching the front runners just a little bit. It looked like there was great racing. I saw when Joe took the lead, that was a great move. I could see it just barely going into the turn from like the beginning of the straightaway. So I'm actually excited to watch the broadcast back to see because it looked like there was some great moves happening.
Oh, you could tell that there were a lot of people that figured out the way to make the move tonight was to use the side draft, get up on the quarter panel, stall out whatever speed they had, and get around them. It seemed to be the only way around someone tonight.
Or put them in the wall.
Well, I mean, there's always
and
that.
I do want to apologize to Josh. It was really strange. So he got into the wall. I came off of turn 4, and it felt like my car was almost being pulled to the right. I don't know if there was net code, if it was just air or me sucking. I don't really know what happened. But then, so I got a 0x, but the car wasn't doing anything. So I kept trying to pull the wheel to the left, and the car just kept going right. And I'm like, what the hell's happening? So sorry, Josh, I did not intend to put you into the wall.
Well, I think that was a product of the side draft in these cars. And that's ultimately the same kind of move that was necessary to get around people without, obviously, going into walls.
Yeah, it felt really strange, and I had passed several cars to get back toward the front, and it was a feeling I hadn't felt in the race before, and I just thought it was weird, and I didn't react quickly enough, or I didn't pull the car enough to the left, and I like Josh, I like racing him, I like everyone in the league basically, so there's no one I would have intentionally driven up into the wall like that, so I just feel bad.
Honestly, it was one of those things that any race, and we even say this within team and everything, the last 5 laps are off limits. Like, there are no real teams at that point. When you want the win, we're talking about the chase to where that win is going to get you bonus points. It's going to get you automatically into the next round. So...
But yeah, Steel Horse did have a great night. Joe finished 2nd. Steve got top 5. Wellen had a great run. Brian was running well. Justin Rodden was running well. So I was happy with the team effort. this race, we practiced a lot together. We shared notes with each other so that it improved everyone's performance. So that's the benefit of being on the team. Adam had a great run. He finished, ninth, so great run to him too. Sorry, I didn't want to leave him out.
He's forgettable sometimes.
He's the inspiration for the vehicle, which was painted by Kevin Pearson brilliantly. So thanks.
But yeah,
the photo of the mangled package is actually on the hood of the vehicle. I don't know if you could see it on the broadcast.
I didn't look that. I was more just amused by the fact that a man who is employed by the USPS was running a DHL one. But I've seen that
any
photo.
opportunity I have to disparage other carriers, I will take advantage of.
If you really want me to, I could disparage UPS for days.
No. Well, maybe podcast, not the broadcast.
Oh yeah, but
thanks for covering the race. I do appreciate it. It's great to get 2 wins in a row. I don't know if I've won 2 races in a row in this league before. I'd have to go back and look.
I would be surprised if it didn't happen. But at the same time, who has the mental capacity to remember those kinds of things?
Nick.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. He does.
Nick Adams would remember.
He does have those kinds of useless knowledge, and I don't claim to. But great run from you tonight. Always a pleasure talking to you and watching you, especially on a night like tonight where, yeah, you had a little lapse at the beginning, but it made for entertainment for everyone else.
Thanks. Appreciate the coverage as always from Ghostfire Media, and you're always great calling the races. I can't wait to go back and watch it.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much, sir.
Have a good one.
All right, let's get our second place finisher, Mr. Joe Dinsmore. Evening, Joe. This is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, you got a copy. How we doing tonight?
I'm here.
Yeah, I hope we made it exciting for everybody that was watching and for you to call it by yourself tonight.
Well, I mean, my voice was already gone before we started tonight, and that's just because, it's the first week of the NFL, so my screaming at the TV voice isn't quite there yet.
Well, Carl's out celebrating his birthday, so happy birthday, Carl.
Yeah, we'll say that's what he's doing. I have a feeling it's a little bit of a celebrated too hard already.
Oh, boy.
But, no, it was a great run from you tonight. At no point was there any question that you were at least going to end up on the podium. How did the setup feel for you tonight?
Setup felt good for me. I was definitely not the fastest off the start, mainly. It's typical. But once the tires got warmed up, I was able to pace myself. Not sure how much you caught on the. I know it's hard to see in the broadcast, but whenever I was able to pull out, all I did was maintain my gap, let them catch up. I'd let off a couple tenths, and then I'd roll back into it, and it really did help save the tires while those folks trying to catch me with those longer runs we got had to burn up their stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I had a really strong car. I mean, I was really hoping to put it in the winner's circle. We're running the AOL car that, this league was formed with all of us getting together at America Online when we used to have to dial up, and it really would have been a really nostalgic win, at least for me and some of the other folks that hear it. So, but I mean, I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was great. It was entertaining to race with Tony and Justin up front, as with Hannah. Getting to ride on his bumper once his tires started to wear out a little bit, and getting real close to him and hoping that he'd make a mistake like Tony did when I let Tony by early on. So,
no,
but, yeah.
you could definitely tell, and it was referenced. You could tell that you were just happy to be out in the front, let everybody burn up their tires in the dirty air, passing people, and you were going to have the speed at the end. There was no way around that.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I mean, one thing that is really key about this track is the way that you enter and exit turns 3 and 4. You know, and you know it, and I think that a lot of people they charge into the corner early on, which you could do for 10 laps, which you saw during the last 10 laps of the race. But you know, if we have a 40 lap run, you do that even for 10 laps, you're not going to have anything at the end of the run.
Well, we could see that when Tony got around you in that middle run, he was running the lower line, and you could tell he was definitely taking the life out of the good years, and ultimately it hurt him because you got back around relatively easily once we got deep into the run.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, this place is hard to pass with fresh tires. A lot of people are very equal on both ends of the track. But once the tires start to wear out, that's when you can start getting runs on people. You can pressure them to make mistakes, like what Tony did. Unfortunately, he hit the wall when he saw that I was catching him, and then you know, he just continued to make a couple mistakes here and there, and was able to get by him. But you know, it was a good run. I'm really excited about my finish tonight. I felt really strong. You know, again, hands down to, you know, hats off to my teammates. I actually got a little practice in this week with my teammates, and it definitely helped instead of coming in cold like I normally do every week. And, you know, early on in the season, Greg Wellen pushing me to, you know, trying to tell me that I need to find that extra 5%. And I think I've been getting there. I think I'm about maybe 2.5% or so of that 5 that Greg is trying to find, was telling me I need to find. And I think that it's starting to show, because I've been leading laps, and I've been really getting pretty close to these wins almost every week.
Yeah.
So
there is no doubt that you have had the resurgence that, okay, I've been waiting for, because honestly, we look at the end of last year, you were a perennial front runner, and then it seemed like you dropped off a little bit, but right now you're easily one of the cars to beat, and tonight showed it very well.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to earn that, so we'll have to do it every week. Tracks like this do favor me. You know, it's very similar to Motegi and Gateway and New Hampshire a little bit, but it's flatter. But and those suit my driving style pretty good.
So next week we're off to Bristol, where, granted, it was on dirt that we got to watch you crab walk. How are you feeling going into the final round of the round of 16?
Well, I mean, I think I'm feeling pretty good. A lot of these tracks do tend to tailor to my driving style. But Bristol should be, as long as I can qualify, because it's a really tough place to pass. I'm probably top 3 car, maybe top 5 the last time I was there. Although I did say I was going to be a top 10 here, and here I am. I ended up leading a lot of the laps. So,
well, we
we'll
look at
see.
it this way: standings have been updated.
Oh.
Top of the broadcast, talking about the fact that you're one of the bubble drivers. You moved up 8 spots to where you're currently sitting in 4th.
Nice, I'll take that. Yeah, I was in 2nd and 3rd all year, so I'll take that. You know, super speedways are definitely this new package is not my cup of tea. So anytime we have a super speedway, until they update it, I don't know if you're going to see me swerving through all those, you know. But yeah, that's good. I'm hoping that I can keep climbing up.
Well, and you're only 3 points behind Tony Pandon in 3rd, so you'll definitely be sitting in the right position when we hit 12. It's almost seeming as if you could not even show up, but I 43 points is right now. Kevin Pearson is our man on the bubble with 45 points, with William Klingbill the first cut at 43 with you at 75. So it's going to be Bristol being another track that is damn near impossible to pass on.
Yep.
It's going to be all about that track position, and honestly, I love watching anything at Bristol.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it's definitely a fun track to race, to run on. It depends on what you classify as racing, right? But I mean, it's about who makes the first mistake is going to be the people that will be getting up through the field. So
it's going to be a blast. It was a great run from you tonight, sir.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to chatting with you more because tonight was the showing that I've been waiting for.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been working on it, and thanks to, Steel Horse Racing for helping me out, keeping me pumped up about everything with the racing here, and my teammates, and and everybody else that does watch it. Thank you very much for the support and the media group.
We're here. We love it. And thank you guys for putting on great shows for us. But go celebrate the win with your team. Have yourself a great night, sir.
Yeah, you have a good night. Thank you.
All right. That is going to do it for us here tonight with the broadcast, because our third place driver is probably very frustrated with himself for a few incidents tonight. But make sure, check us out throughout the week. We are going to have a great run tomorrow night. We're going to be at Kansas with Fuel. Then we will have the IVRL on Tuesday. Potentially the Sportsman this week. I don't even remember what track we're running because there were questions about last week's issues with Mid-Ohio. I believe we're going to Mid-Ohio for the Sportsman this week. We will have the TNT, and oh my God, why can't I remember where the heck we are? But the TNT will be on Thursday night. Join us as always on Friday night for the podcast. It's going to be a great time. And next Sunday, we will be live at Bristol with the AOLL Cup Series for the last race before we trim the field down to 12. So thank you, everyone. I am Josh Laston for Ghostfire Media. Have yourself a great night.
Thank you for watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.